Grammar on the Beach. Today we're going to talk about nouns in as, masculine, a, feminine, and o, neuter. In Greek, there's a good number of nouns, masculine nouns, that end in as, alpha, sigma. One very common such noun is the word o pateras, which means father. O pateras. Let's see how it declines. In the nominative, we have o pateras. In the genitive, singular, we have tu patera. No sigma at the end, the sigma left. In the accusative, we have ton patera. Again, the sigma was dropped. In the plural, we have e pateres. In the genitive plural, we have ton pateron, ending in that characteristic omega ni of the genitive. And then in the plural accusative, we have tus pateres. So the endings here were as, es, on, and s. What can we note? Well, we can note, firstly, that the genitive singular and the accusative singular match. And what did they do? They both just dropped the sigma. O pateras becomes tu patera of the father, or ton patera, I see the father. In the plural, we can note that the nominative and the accusative match. What happened? O pateras became e pateres. That alpha became an epsilon. And finally, in the genitive, what do we have? We have that very characteristic ending of the genitive plural, which is on. So that's a word like o pateres. Let me show you one more. The word o andras, which means man, looks like this. What do I want you to notice with this word o andras? The accent mark on the genitive plural. Moved. It was on the first syllable, o andras, and everything except for the genitive plural. It became ton andron. The accent shifted to the back. This is characteristic of the genitive plural. When you see this on ending, omega ni, which we know is actually used across all the genders for the genitive plural, we can expect that on some words the accent will move back. There are rules for when that accent will move. We're not going to get into them now. I want you to just notice it. Let's now look at feminine words that end in alpha. One very common example of which is the word mitera. E mitera means mother. And the word mitera declines like this. E mitera tis miteras, ending in a sigma. Ti mitera. And now the plurals, the plural nominative. E miteres ton. We should know what this is going to be. Ton miteron. Ton miteron. And accusative plural tis with a iota. Tis miteres. So the endings we have here are a, as, a, es, on, and s. What can we notice? Well, we can notice that, as always, the nominative and accusative singulars are the same. I mitera, tin mitera. The genitive does what? It adds a sigma, which makes some sense to us because the definite article also has a sigma in it. Tis miteras. In the plural, we get again the nominative and the accusative matching, ending in s. That should also remind us of, just above, I pateres. We had the same thing in these masculine words we saw that end in alpha sigma. Well, feminine words ending in just alpha do the same thing. And then finally, the genitive on that characteristic omega ni ending. And speaking of this omega ni ending, the genitive plural, just like we saw with the word oandras, there are times that with this genitive plural, we'll pull the accent over to the end, as we see not in the word mitera, but in the word γυναίκα, which means woman. Let's just show you that. So again, here we see an accent shift in this genitive plural. Ton γυναικών. And last up, today we have these neuter nouns that end in o, omicron. One very common such noun is the word ergo, to ergo, which means work like a public work, they're fixing the road, or work like a work of art. The word ergo declines like this, to ergo, tu ergo, ending in omicron y, to ergo. Now the plurals, ta, erga, ton, ergon, ta, erga. What can we notice about these endings? Well, happily, and at some point I have to stop saying this because we've seen it enough, the nominative and accusative match. This is true in the neuters, and this is true in the feminine. In the neuter, it's also always true that they match in the plural. So singular we get o and o, in the plural we get a and a. The genitive singular ends in u, which makes some sense to us because the genitive singular definite article also ends in u, tu. And then finally we get this characteristic ending on. Now notice the accent didn't shift here in the genitive plural, but I can certainly show you an example where it does. Let's look at the word to domatio, which means room. So what do we get? We get the genitive plural. We have a shift back, almost as if this on, the heavy omega, pulls back the accent. From to domatio becomes ton domation. Now look at this word. Anything else happen with the accent other than the genitive plural? Well, look, the genitive singular actually does the same thing. Here because of the u. Again, we're not going to talk too analytically about this, but we can think that there's these things called heavy syllables that in ancient Greek used to actually have a longer duration on, or there's also things like diphthongs, oo. Sometimes we see them in this ending, oos. These endings have the strength to take the word and to tilt it that way. And when they tilt the word down, what happens? Sometimes the accent moves in that direction, down as well. So those are our nouns. Masculine as, o pateras. Feminine a, I mitera. And neuter o, to ergo, to domatio.